Programmatically shut down Spring Boot application introduction. In some situations, a Spring Boot application needs to stop itself programmatically instead of being stopped manually. This can happen when a critical error occurs, a scheduled job finishes, and the app should exit. An admin API requests shutdown, startup validation fails. The application is used as a batch process. Spring Boot allows you to shut down the application programmatically in a controlled way. Understanding this is important because it helps you properly stop. The Spring Application Context background means embedded server scheduled tasks, application resources. This is a useful topic for both web applications and non-web batch applications. What does programmatically shut down Spring Boot application mean? It means stopping the running Spring Boot application using Java code instead of manually closing the terminal or killing the process. In simple terms, application code decides means application stops itself. Example concept. Condition met means shutdown method called means Spring Boot exits. Why this is important. Sometimes an application should not continue running. Examples. Invalid startup configuration, unrecoverable business failure, maintenance mode request, one-time batch task completed, admin triggered shutdown. Example concept. Application detects stop condition means graceful shutdown starts. Without proper shutdown logic, resources may remain open or the application may stop abruptly. Main ways to shut down Spring Boot programmatically. Common approaches include SpringApplication.exit, closing application context, calling System.exit after SpringApplication using actuator shutdown endpoint, if enabled. Example concept. Shutdown request means Spring context closes, means app stops. Method 1. Using SpringApplication.exit. This is one of the most common Spring-friendly ways. Example import org.springframework.boot.springapplication. Import org.springframework.context.configurable application context. Public class shutdown example. Public static void main string args configurable application context is SpringApplication.run. Shutdown example.class args. Int exit code equals SpringApplication.exit context. System.exit exit code. Example concept. SpringApplication.exit context means closes Spring context. SpringApplication.exit closes the application context and returns an exit code. Why System.exit is often used after SpringApplication.exit. SpringApplication.exit context closes Spring, but it may not always terminate the JVM immediately in every case. So developers often use System.exit exit code. Example concept. Close Spring context means terminate JVM process. This is especially common for command line or batch applications. Method 2. Close the application context directly. If you already have access to the application context, you can close it directly. Example import org Spring Framework context, configurable application context. Public class myService. Private final, configurable application context. Public myService, configurable application context. This.context equals context. Public void shutdown. Example concept. Context close means Spring container shuts down. This closes the Spring container and triggers bean destruction. Method 3. Shutdown from a REST endpoint. You can create an admin endpoint that shuts down the application. Example, import org.springframework.boot.springapplication. Import org.springframework.context, configurable application context. Import org.springframework.web.bind annotation. REST controller. At request mapping admin. Public class shutdown controller. Private final configurable application context. Public shutdown controller. Configurable application context. This context equals context. Post mapping shutdown. Public string shutdown. New thread take action. Try thread sleep 1000. Catch interrupted exception ignored. SpringApplication.exit context +0. System.exit 0. Return, application is shutting down. Example concept. Admin API called means shutdown triggered, means app stops. The separate thread is often used so the HTTP response can be returned before shutdown completes. Method 4. Use exit code generator. Spring Boot allows custom exit codes. Example: import org.springframework.boot.exit code generator, import org.springframework.boot.springApplication, import org.springframework.context, configurable application context. Public class app shutdown. Public static void main, string args, configurable application context equals Spring Application Run, app shutdown class, args. Int exit code equals Spring Application.exit context, new exit code generator, add public int get exit code, return 5. System.exit, exit code, age. Example concept. Custom shutdown means custom exit code returned. This is useful in automation, scripts, and batch environments. Method 5. Shut down on startup failure or validation failure. Sometimes, the app should stop if startup checks fail. Example import jakarta.annotation.postconstruct, import org.springframework.boot.springApplication, import org.springframework.context.configurable application context, import org.springframework.stereotype.component. Component, public class, startup validator. Private final, configurable application context. Public startup validator, configurable application context. This.context equals context. At post construct, public void, validate. Boolean valid equals false. If not valid, new thread, which will Spring Application.exit context. 1. System exit. Example concept. Startup validation fails means app shuts down automatically. Method 6. Using Spring Boot Actuator shutdown endpoint. Spring Boot Actuator can expose a shutdown endpoint. Example configuration management.endpoint.shutdown.enabled.true, management.endpoints.web.exposure.include, shutdown. Then call post-actuator-shutdown. Example concept. Actuator endpoint called means Spring Boot shuts down. This is convenient, but it must be secured properly. What happens during shutdown? When Spring Boot shuts down properly, it usually closes the application context, stops the embedded Tomcat Jetty Undertow server, destroys beans, runs at pre-destroy methods, releases resources, stops background tasks. Example concept. Shutdown signal means beans cleaned up, means server stops. Graceful shutdown versus abrupt shutdown. Graceful shutdown, Spring context closes properly. Resources are released. Cleanup logic runs. Abrupt shutdown process is killed immediately. Cleanup may not happen. Data loss or incomplete tasks may occur. Example concept. Graceful shutdown means controlled stop. Abrupt shutdown means forced stop. Programmatic shutdown should normally aim for graceful shutdown. Real-world example. Batch application. Suppose your application processes a file, saves output, and then should stop. Example concept. Start app means process file, means complete work, means exit app. In such a case, int exit code equals Spring Application.exit context 2, 0. System exit code is a common solution. Common mistakes. 1. Using only system exit everywhere. This may terminate the JVM too abruptly and skip Spring managed cleanup. Better approach. Spring Application.exit context. System exit 0. 2. Closing context before returning HTTP response. If shutdown is triggered directly inside a REST call, the response may not be sent properly. Using a separate thread can help. 3. Forgetting cleanup logic. If you need cleanup, use at pre-destroy disposable beans shutdown hooks for exposing shutdown endpoint without security. This is dangerous in real applications. Best practices. Best practices include Prefer SpringApplication.exit for Spring-aware shutdown. Use System.exit only when JVM termination is required. Secure any shutdown REST endpoint. Use graceful shutdown whenever possible. Return proper exit codes for batch apps. Place cleanup logic in @pre-destroy or bean destroy methods. Example concept. Graceful plus secure plus controlled shutdown equals best practice advantages. Advantages include controlled application stop, proper resource cleanup support for automation and scripting, useful for batch jobs and admin tools, better than force killing the process. Challenges. Challenges include choosing between context close and JVM exit handling shutdown from REST, safely managing long-running tasks during shutdown, securing shutdown functionality. Concepts learned. By learning this topic, you understand. Check. How to shut down Spring Boot programmatically. How SpringApplication.exit works. How to close application context. When System.exit is needed. How to expose a shutdown endpoint. How graceful shutdown differs from abrupt termination. Simple definition. Programmatically shut down Spring Boot application. The process of stopping a running Spring Boot application through code by closing the Spring context and, if needed, terminating the JVM. Final summary. Spring Boot applications can be shut down programmatically using several approaches, with the most common being SpringApplication.exit context, context.close, System.exit code when full JVM termination is needed. For web applications, shutdown can also be triggered from a secure admin endpoint or through Actuator. The key idea is to shut down the application gracefully, so Spring can stop the server, destroy beans, and release resources correctly. Understanding this topic helps you build better batch jobs, admin tools, startup validation flows, and controlled shutdown mechanisms in Spring Boot applications.